Greetings from New York. The title of the research proposal is The Impact of Support Groups and Self-Care Activities on African American Women Caregivers Married to Spouses with Dementia. According to the World Health Organization, the number of people living with dementia is expected to double to 65.7 million in 2030 and triple to 115.4 million by 2050. This is worldwide. Previous research has been done on dementia patients and their caregivers to include family members and nursing home caregivers. The proposed research is specific to African American women caregivers. The research question is, do African American women caring for spouses with dementia at home who participate in support groups and self-care activities experience less stress than African American women caring for their spouses with dementia who do not participate in self-care activities and support groups? The hypothesis for this research is African American women who participate in support groups and self-care activities will experience less stress while caring for spouses with dementia at home. There are several variables. The independent variables include support groups and self-care activities and control group. The dependent variable is stress. The constructs and operational definitions. First construct is stress, and it is defined as a person's perception of a threatening or demanding situation that arises and the person does not have the appropriate coping response to deal with it. Now, self-care activity is the next construct, and it is defined as physical, psychological, emotional, and spiritual self-care. To further break those constructs down, physical self-care includes activities such as going to the gym, getting a massage, walking, or jogging. Psychological self-care activities include writing in a journal or engaging in a new skill or gardening. Emotional self-care activities include playing with children, watching favorite movies, or reading or listening to favorite books. Spiritual self-care activities include praying, meditating, or participating in spiritual gatherings, groups, or listening to inspirational music. Support groups will be defined as a group of people with common experiences and concerns who provide emotional and moral support for one another. The sample groups will consist of 50 African American women married to spouses with dementia who are taking care of them at home. The participants will be randomly placed into two equal groups of 25 according to their age and years of experience. Group 1 will take part in self-care activities and participate in a support group for 6 months. Group 2 will be the control group and will not participate in self-care activities or support groups. The methods to be used first will be the Perceived Stress Scale Questionnaire, which will be given to all participants at the beginning of the research. Group 1 will participate in self-care activities for 15 minutes or more a day for 3 days or more a week for the 6 months. Participants will choose 2 self-care activities from the different categories and will be required to maintain a weekly log to track their progress. The participants will also be required to participate in a support group for 1 hour a week for the 6 months. They will be divided into 4 groups consisting of 6 to 7 participants according to their ages, which is 66 to 70 years old, 66 to 70 years old, 71 to 75 years old, and 76 to 80 years old. Participants will also be required to keep a separate log to track their progress in the support group. Both of these logs will be turned in at the beginning of the week on Mondays. Once the participant turns in these logs, they will be allowed to choose 2 different self-care activities or continue with their current self-care activities. Participants will also receive $10 every Monday when they turn in their completed weekly progress logs for the previous week. Group 2, the control group, will not participate in any self-care activities or any group support groups. They will, however, receive a $10 check in the mail every Monday, and participants will receive a call to ensure that they are still participating in the research every month. After the 24 weeks, or rather 6 months, period is completed, all participants will be required to take another perceived stress test questionnaire. Then the data will be gathered and analyzed by the t-test. Data analysis and plan will consist of examining the difference between the stress levels of Group 1, which was the group that received the treatment, who participated in the self-care activities in the support groups, and between Group 2, which was the control groups. The results will include the mean age of the participants as well as for the group, the mean years of education for the participant as well as for the groups, and the mean years of caring for the spouse with dementia for each individual participant as well as for the groups. The stress level of both groups will be reported in terms of an overall rating for each participant's pre-treatment and post-treatment test that they took, as well as the overall rating for each group for the same pre and post test. The means of both groups will be compared to each other by using the t-test. As dementia rises over the next 20 to 30 years, it is important to care for the caregivers. Both self-care activities and support groups can be interventions that will help alleviate caregivers' stress so they can continue to care for their spouses with dementia. Thank you.